Yeah, good evening, racing fans. That is Natter here. Another special roundtable as we dive into the Friday, August 11th, 2023 card at Hoosier Park, and we have a group of 7. We have lost some. Oh, we have lost Jacob Rheinheimer, who will hopefully get back soon. But hey, in the meantime, we've gotten John Rallis below me, who joins us. John has finished his ice cream after that $7 winner at Mohawk.
Yes, I have. It tasted quite good, and yeah, thanks for Paul Davies for getting over.
Mike Pribozie joins us as always. Mike's a second show of the day. He joined me for Sweden Talk earlier this morning, and Mike, this time we go out to Indiana.
I'm everywhere. I tell you this all the time.
Producer AJ is going to flip Jacob and Ray so I can get as far away from Ray Cotolo as possible, but he's there somewhere.
Who are you talking to me or talking to Jacob? Because we're both somewhere, but
I guess you first, Ray.
I don't think we're in the same place. Although, Jacob, if you're here right now, you're more than welcome to walk in, have a little drink if you want.
Hey, we've got them lined up right in a row. We've got the trio from Yahoo Picks for once. Allums Jr. joins us. Rod, welcome.
I got to tell you, Ray says he's got the drink, but come on. You know better than that. He's drinking water out of that cup with a straw.
Well, what's wrong with straw water?
Weirdo.
Hey, and for once, we brought some actual on-site experts in with us. Jacob is kind of in and out. We'll get to him eventually. But Emily Gaskin's with us. Emily, welcome.
And she's muted.
Who is muted?
You're on mute, Emily. Hit the button.
Classic. Thank you guys for having me. I was trying to remember. Last time I was on the show, was that Dan Patch last year, Edison? I can't remember.
It may have been last time I had you on, but this time we got it on camera. This full roundtable. We have a very nice show, thanks to our sponsorship with Caesars Entertainment, and we're very happy for that partnership again, and a good 15 race card to break down on the Hoosier Friday evening racing tomorrow night, actually, and we've got some guaranteed pools that'll come later in the card. A $30,000 late pick 4 guaranteed pool, races 12 to 15. And then there's also a superfecta guarantee pool of $30,000 in the Dan Patch Stakes. And then, of course, a guarantee as well in the 15th and final race on the Hoosier High Five. So a lot of guarantees on this card. They all come in the later races. So that's kind of where we will start our attention in on these races. And we will start our attentions discussing the 10th race and the 11th race. We'll discuss those two ahead of the pick 4 sequence. Then we'll talk that pick 4 sequence. So we'll jump in. Race 10, it's the Tom D. Tetrick Memorial. Again, I think we said it on one of our more recent roundtables. I think maybe Meadowlands Pace Night. But, of course, again, our condolences to the entire Tetrick family. Of course, Trace driving a lot out there at Hoosier Park. Other fans obviously familiar with Tim Tetrick, their father, Tom, passing away earlier last month. But quickly, the Tom Tetrick Memorial here for Pacers, $40,000 on the line, the Filly and Mare Invitational. Emily, you're our on-site expert, so why don't we get your analysis first on this race?
Yeah, I thought it was kind of an interesting group. We've seen a number of these mares face off against one another week in and week out here at Hoosier Park, the likes of Maggie Ree, Skyway Brittany. We saw a big effort last week from Elegant A. So, they've been taking turns in the winner's circle. The thing I think is most interesting about this field is the addition of She's a Sharpshooter, James McDonald. I actually was quite surprised to see her at 10-1. She's had 2, she's been on the board in 12 of her 19 starts. Routed off 2 victories in her last 2. So I was actually quite surprised at the 10-1 price and certainly didn't shy away from it. The other one I think is interesting is the I'm Off and Gone from the Todd Luther barn. So like I said, there's a couple different angles. We've seen a number of these mares square off against one another, but I like the addition, the few new faces that we see in the field for tomorrow night's race.
Rod, new addition to our table here. What do you think of the 10th?
I think it's actually pretty wide open, to be honest with you. Maggie Ree, always competitive, no matter what class level she's at. And, her third start over the surface, again, she should be very solid. But my top pick in this race is the 8 Electra, coming off the 2 qualifiers, first time in the U.S., Australian bred. And this is a mare that I think has a crap ton of speed and just really should be up close throughout, should like the big track and really closed nicely in both of those qualifiers. I expect her to be on point for her first start, and the 8-hole honestly shouldn't matter with her early gate speed. And I really like the 6-1 morning line here.
But do you think that 6-1 price is like something to pounce on? Because one of the things that we see with these Australian imports time and time again is sometimes they might need a start or two. So what is it about her that makes you want to try and go for a price like that?
She moved in that last qualifier. You know, she left a little bit early, and then she moved to the front down the backside, and again fended off horses down the stretch to win that qualifier, and won that qualifier pretty handily. If you go watch the replay, I mean, it was handy. This is not an overwhelming field, so I think with that effort in that qualifier, she seems to be ready, and they gave her plenty of time since she came over from Australia. So watching that replay on that qualifier, that last qualifier in particular, I really like her in this spot.
Okay, so I think we have our other on-site expert there. So Jacob Rheinheimer, welcome. Thanks for joining us, and we'll get your thoughts on race 10. Jump right in.
Yeah, sorry about that, some technical difficulties. But no, I thought this race was pretty wide open. That's why I wanted to go with the price. I went with number 3, She's Magical. Mike Osteen in the bike for Perry Smith. 6th last time we saw her here in the open ranks. With that said, beating just 2 lengths, she got away 7th in the field of 9. Had too much work to do. Still got home in 26 and change. But she's a mare that's been here all season long at Harrah Hoosier Park. Already 26 starts. She's hit the board in 17 of them to make over $100,000. They raced her 6 straight weeks, and then they gave her last week off. So I think she's going to be coming into this fresh. She's been going with Patchville and Elegant all season long. You're getting a better price on She's Magical, and she's got the inside draw against those likes. So I think she's worth a look at 8-1 on the morning line.
John Rallis?
Yeah, I really wanted to. This is a wide open group. I feel like I really wanted to like She's a Sharpshooter. I was excited to see her in this field, but then she drew the second tier, and this is a mare that typically likes to show a lot of speed, and I think she's capable against this group. It's just I think I can't side with horses who start from the second tier, especially a mare like She's a Sharpshooter who loves to show early foot off the gate. Wouldn't it be something if Trace Tetrick just won the Tom Tetrick Memorial, though? I mean, we saw it last night at Mohawk. John Watkins, he was a freelance photographer for Ontario Racing. He actually owned part of a filly who got the job done 2 days after his passing. So wouldn't it be something that if Trace Tetrick is standing in the winner's circle in the Tom Tetrick Memorial? So I think it's a wide open race. I think it's also going to depend on trip. And I'm just going to side with Elegant because just kind of from a narrative standpoint, because I can't really separate too many of these in here. I wanted to like Patchville. Maybe Lasix is going to help this mare, but she had a perfect 2-hole trip last time, and she was just a little too empty for my liking. So I think it's a wide open race. I think it's going to depend on trip. I'm surprised Ray doesn't like the Aussie shipper because he lost. That one actually beat I'm Sir Blake, the star-studded Oak Grove horse. I thought you would have been all over the Aussie shipper, but yeah, I think it's a wide open race, and I'm going to side with Elegant.
Yeah, Ray, you know me, I always love my Australian shippers, so I'm
I thought you were going to say you love your Oak Grove shippers because...
Well, that's a different topic, and I should give you credit, Ray. This is also I forgot to mention when I mentioned the Open, also your second show of the day with me. You did Woodbine Mohawk earlier, so you're doing the double too.
That's great. I'm sure everyone listened. Look, with this race, I do think it's interesting when Rod was pointing out Electra. Kyle Wilfong had been driving Maggie Rhee and now is hopping onto this Colifer horse, and Brett Miller's getting the drive on Maggie Rhee. So that's an interesting kind of swapping of sulkies for whatever that's worth, whether it was Wilfong's choice to go to that one or when Brett Miller's available. I'm sure everyone wants to get ready when they can. I don't know what kind of prices we're going to get, though, because the consensus here, I agree with. It's a much more contentious group than it seems on paper. You got plenty of mares that can utilize that long stretch at Hoosier Park, one of the longest stretches in North America. So if you can really hit top gear down that lane, that's going to be to your benefit. Elegant can fire home in 26 and change. Maggie Rhee has been showing sharp late speed since coming from Running Aces, a sentence you don't hear that often when you think about it. A horse like She's Magical can too. So ultimately, for me, I would be curious if Elegant was 3-1. I think that's a price I could take a stand on because she has that consistency. She can go and sit forward and sit in a spot where her late kick would be utilized well. But the problem is that she's been no higher than 9-5 in her last few starts. So I don't know if we're going to get that kind of price. If you're getting Maggie Rhee at like 6-7-1, she's 7 for 12 this season, 31 for 75. there's a testament to be said for horses that win and win again and do so at the top levels of whatever they're in against. So this is a race where I think you should go price shopping, especially. Don't just settle on the favorite if that is Elegant. I think you might be able to get an okay price on Maggie Ree. I do like what Jacob's saying with She's Magical, though I don't know what kind of price she's going to be again, because 7-2, 5-1, 4-1. A lot of these mares are just taking a ton of play, which just makes figuring out the total of this race kind of weird.
Mike?
Well, a couple things, Ray. For one, I know she's a sharpshooter's 10-1 in the book, but she will not be anywhere close to that. I mean, she's going to take big time money in the race, so that's going to help the prices on some of the other ones. I like the horses in the middle of the gate. I like Maggie Ree. I think I don't mind Brett Miller on a horse coming from behind. That's his perfect horse as far as I'm concerned. That's where he excels from off the pace. This horse really had a 9-hole last time, and Elegant got the jump, and they only went 55-4 up front, and she still came flying and just couldn't quite make up the ground, but came in 26. So I like them in the middle of the gate, and I'll try another horse too with Scott Zeron shipping from Scioto, and that's the 7. I'm off and gone. I mean, this horse has a couple open wins down there, is in good form, really had no chance in that Cleopatra race. 8-1 in the morning line. This is a horse that gets lost in the race. Already has 21 starts this year. So this horse is, Todd Luther shows up in this spot, probably is going to get ignored. I would think you're going to get over 10-1. So I want the horses in the middle there. I would want 5, 6, and 7 for me.
So that was race 10. We'll next flip to race 11, the Greg Haston Memorial Invitational Open 2 Pacers going for $40,000. And we'll start this one off with our other on-site expert, Jacob. What do you think of race 11?
Yeah, I did go a little bit chalkier on this one. I think this is a pretty contentious bunch, but with that said, I did land on General Dolan. Trace Keachik, our 10-time consecutive leading driver here at Hoosier Park. Tyler George, our 3-time consecutive leading trainer here. Comes off a third-place effort where he just missed Two Ponda Warrior, who we're going to see in the Dan Patch later on in the card. And he was flying late, got home in 25-2, and that's kind of his MO. He can do it any way he wants. He can go down the road on the front end. He can race from off a helmet. Sometimes I do think he's better from off a helmet when he has a target to chase down. But he gets a good post draw here, and there's just nothing else really standing out to me in this race. So I did have to go with the favorite here, General Dolan.
Also where I landed in this race, but anytime someone says formful and chalky, I can always go to Ray Cotolo to give us the good 50-1 bomb.
I don't know if you're going to find a 50-1 shot in a race like this. I did see another Oak Grove shipper. I'm seeing Oak Grove well represented here. I'm curious, though, how a horse like Smoothbot's going to fit in class-wise against a bunch like this, because he was pretty sharp at Oak Grove. Sure, he was in against hours of 7,500, but that class was loaded with a ton of the top guns at that circuit, like PD, the Big Easy, Is It Like It Is, No Losing, Western Era. Those are all open, tight pacers at Oak Grove at the time, but they would probably fit more into the open 3, open 2 slots where Smooth Bat has won and been beaten at. Well, was beaten just a bit by General Dolan 2 starts ago. Last out, showed a wicked late foot to get second upon the Warrior, who we'll be talking about probably later on in a race that's a little higher class than this. Maybe to be an indication that Smooth Bot can hold his own against a group like this and might be a bit of a live price from that outside post. Not necessarily going to be a detriment because, again, you see this guy, he loves the long straights, 25 and change consecutive final quarters. It's just going to be a question of how far back is he? Because if he's way too far back, horses can only go so fast.
Mike, let's see. Kevin Plouch is tuning in as always. And, you mentioned earlier we might need him to hop in and sub. We were in and out, but I think we got all of our technical issues sorted out. And, Mike, I'll let you answer Kevin's question. Where does General Dolan get away off the car?
Well, I mean, I think he has a ton of speed. He's drawn perfectly. If they want to go, they're going to go. There's horses inside that have speed with him. I don't know. I think his best trip, though, is up close. And I would expect him to be 1 too early, just to answer that question.
Or Mike, what about your other thoughts on the race?
What do I like? Oh, I'm thinking outside 3 as the horses that I like. I like what Ray said about Smooth Bot. I mean, it's hard to ignore those 25-2, 25-4 kicks. Should get some sort of setup. I don't mind the 8. I like Me better. I realized the horse came from Pocono, but showed up here and won instantly. I like horses that can do things like that ship into a track and 48-2. Now that was a fast night but that's still a fast mile, and I think you have to respect that. And then I don't mind the 7 Crooked Smile. I know you have these aces lines, but this horse was winning here prior to going to aces. Those are fast times at aces. 49-2 at aces. I mean, give me a break. And that's like track record at aces. This horse shows up back here, gets back to the big track, likes to be up close early. I think should get a forward trip and will be decent. I would use the outside 3.
John Derek Givner said he loves listening but despises the word expert. I'm assuming he means whenever I said it in reference to Ray Cotolo. That's probably a fair point, John.
Yeah, you don't want his head to get even bigger than it already is. I mean,
What are you talking about?
Well, I have to agree with everybody's sentiment, but before I could start, I actually forgot to mention, though, on the top of the show is that Emily and Jacob, you guys, I watch a lot of Hoosier, and you guys do a great job with your selection and on the broadcast. So that's something I forgot to mention at the top of the show, and it's great to have 2 local, track experts here, like talking about Hoosier, because we haven't really had that in the past too many times, have we, Edison?
Yeah, it's always good to get them on these big shows. And I guess myself on some Meadowland shows in the past is about as close as we've gotten. But Jacob and Emily are much sharper than I, especially when it comes to this Hoosier stuff. So it is great to have them.
I have to agree with Jacob and many others in here. I think that General Dolan's going to be really tough. I think that it's hard really to dismiss his effort last time out. I thought it was a strong one, and he's pretty versatile and handy off the gate. He can leave if he wants to, and he can come off a helmet. And it was his choice of both Tyler George trainees, and General Idea also raced really well, but this seems like a much better spot for General Dolan, and General Idea is obviously going to face a tougher bunch in here, but I do think General Dolan's the one to beat, and it's hard for me to side against him.
Emily, similar thoughts or different direction?
Yeah, no, similar thoughts, very similar. I think they've been, kind of prepping him back to this spot. We saw him win pretty handily in 49-1 at an open 3 level, and he's been bumping up, went over to Scioto Downs and things like that. And then last week racing him off the pace, closing home in 25-2. Similar story, a few weeks back. So, I think tomorrow it's, green light means go, and I think we'll see him forwardly placed. I will say, kind of reiterating the sentiments there on General Idea. Tyler George is batting at 500. You get Mike Oosting, and that was a huge effort last week from General Idea to finish second. I like me better. The horse is hitting at an incredible clip this season. But I think General Idea is the type of horse that could trip out in here. And, anytime you can get a Tyler George horse, Tyler George is one of those trainers. He's not going to put a horse in a spot if he doesn't think the horse can win. So with this inside post draw, I think, again, he's the type of horse that could trip out and you get a good price on him, maybe to factor underneath. Obviously, like I said, I agree with everything as far as General Dolan is concerned, and obviously not going to get a price there, but you could maybe try to swing and catch a little bit of a price with a horse like General Idea, or a few of these others underneath.
Rod, bring us home on this race.
Well, sadly, and I say this in a respectful way, I agree with Ray on Smooth Bot. The 9-hole is the caveat here, but this horse is in really good form. Second last week, coming from off the pace. There's a lot of early speed in this race, and I think they could really mix it up, and it sets up for a closer. And to be honest with you, if I'm going to use anybody else as a price player underneath, because everybody's going to be using 7, 8, 9, and the 4, the 6, your wish is granted. This horse last week, he left, and then he sat to pretty fast fractions, to be honest. And prior to that, 2 starts back, he was a winner after leaving. This horse is versatile, but if you really look at that line 3 back, he had the rail and he tucked early on, let a couple horses go, sat there, finished third. He raced very well off of a 6 scratch. And I think this is a horse at a price that can hit your exacta, trifectas, and supers. And he's going to really make this ticket pay. If you can get him, if he can get the right trip, I think he's definitely the price play in the race underneath. Do I think he can win? No, not really. But, I'm definitely going to be using him in exactas as a price player underneath Smooth Bot and a couple others as well. Everybody kind of touched on everybody here.
So we'll next turn to race number 12, the John Schuster Memorial Non-Winners, a 6,001 on the pace. This is a series final. But before we do, Emily, I'll go to you to just talk about a little bit about Hoosier Park out there in Harrah's, how obviously proud you are of this card coming up this weekend, and to be able to offer the guarantees we do. $30,000, again, guarantee on this late pick 4, $30,000 superfecta in race 13, the Dan Patch, and the $30,000 guarantee on that Super I-5 race 15. Definitely great betting opportunities on this card.
Yeah, from top to bottom, this is a card that I'm really proud of. The Dan Patch obviously is one of those races that, takes a lot of attention, and we're obviously, very proud of it and like to promote it. But this entire card is one of those cards that, I'm very proud of, as far as the full fields are concerned, competitiveness. I was handicapping the other night, and I was, through the first few races, and I found 4 or 5 horses that I really like for a price. So those are the type of cards that, I think make for a lot of fun, make for some interesting handicapping. And like you said, we've got some great guaranteed wagers to go along with it. We keep, nudging them to increase those guarantees. And so we keep hoping that people will jump in and play along so that we can continue to build, continue to grow those guaranteed wagers and continue to offer that, particularly on a card like this. So we're really excited, really looking forward to it. And, like I said, from top to bottom, very proud of the card. And I think it's one of those cards, like I said, that's just going to be a lot of fun because it's going to be some great racing, great horses, great drivers, and, something to really jump in and get behind.
Well, Mike, I know you'll definitely be jumping into this $30,000 guaranteed late pick 4 pool. So give us some thoughts on this race and how you're going to start off your ticket.
This is I think it's a tough race. I mean, this is one of those series type finals that you had a couple eliminations for. And if you watch those races, there were 2 very, very different eliminations. I mean, you had one that went, the race 11 went with a 53 3/2, and then race 13 went with a 56 1/2. Well, that's 2 huge, kind of setups and scenarios for these for these horses. So I prefer, I think, the horses coming out of the race with the 53 3/2. Now, the winner of that race, Western Era, you get Scott Zeron. Now, we know how I feel about Scott Zeron, right? I think that he's basically the top driver in the sport right now. He's certainly my favorite driver. I like the switch to him. I like how this horse kicked, after that setup. And he's sharp. Came in from Oak Grove off a qualifier, and he was racing well down there. I'm sure Ray really appreciates that horse. So I think that he's one to be tough. And the horse to finish second in that spot that took a lot of that early pace was the 10 Rockin' Speed. Now you get a better post, I think, an inside draw, going to be hopefully forwardly placed. Now, this horse doesn't like to win this year as much as last year. Won 10 times last year. 1 win this year, but you get James McDonald in the bike now. He's driving very well. He's starting to show up on the big days now all of a sudden. You see J-Mac getting listed on all these. He shows up on Hambo Day. He's on Audios Day. Now he's here for the Dan Patch. So he's starting to hit the road. I like him getting on this horse. So I would be 6 and 10 here, probably in pick 4s. I could see maybe the 4 also, who was on a speed mission last time. That's another horse I think could be used at a price. So 6, 10, and 4.
But Mike, with the 10, how do you see him getting into this race? Because he's going to be trailing Granite or Hello Sweetie Boy on the off chance the 11 moves out, and those are both horses that don't really tend to show speed.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know that he necessarily has to be on the front to win. I mean, he was against it last time. He gets an inside draw here, so things could shake out for him. Yeah, he needs a trip to win, but I do think he comes out of the better division, and he's consistent. I mean, he's 8 times in the money this year. I like the driver switch. I like the post. I like the race he's coming out of. So he's a horse that I want to use.
Well, Emily, you were there in person last week for these preliminaries. Maybe you were en route to the Hamiltonian. But what did you make of this race?
Yeah, it was. I was actually en route, but in true, I don't know what you want to call it, degenerate fashion, I was tuned in and watching. I don't know if that's what we want to say, but I was tuned in, and like I said, it was quite interesting. And that's what makes trip handicapping at Hoosier Park so interesting, because you talk about Rockin' Speed and the second tier and things like that. Obviously with the passing lane, a horse needing the lead type of thing doesn't necessarily concern me, because if a horse has got pace, 8 times out of 10, as long as they're somewhere in the mix, they're going to find some room somewhere. So, with the long quarter mile stretch and the passing lane. So I don't necessarily shy away from that. like you said, that's what makes things interesting as far as trip handicapping is concerned, because like you said, we saw a half in 56-1 and a half in 53-3. I don't think we're going to see, I'm not even going to say I don't think, we will not see a half in 56. For whatever reason, these guys get keyed up and they certainly want to race. And I would not be surprised to see 52 to the half. Now, who that's going to be, I'm not sure. But there's a couple horses that here, in my opinion, Western Era, we haven't seen him a whole lot. He comes from Ray's Land down there in Oak Grove. But he's been racing so well this season. He was racing the Sire Stakes here at Hoosier Park. He went winless last year. I think he had some soundness issues, from the Irv Miller barn. So I think he's one of those horses that he's got just 11 starts on the season. So I think it's all systems go for him. And like you said, Scott Zeron on the bike. He looks like the type of horse to me that's got some versatility. He can be on the front, off the pace as well. So I really like him in this spot. He's one of those horses that, really kind of stood out to me.
Well, Jacob, you were presumably there in person to watch these preliminaries last week, and you can settle the score. Derek Givner says Mike is on the 6 and the 10, and Derek is fading both. What are you going with?
I did throw on the 6 Western Era. I was just so impressed. Took a month off after racing at Oak Grove before a nice qualifier, beat just half length 2-pound Warrior, and then the race did set up perfectly for him. He set off just off that 53 half speed, and he did what he had to do, got home in 26 and change to score that 49-1 win. Losing Trace Tetrick to Ultra Image here was a concern for me. With that said, picking up Scott Zeron, hottest driver in the sport right now, that was enough for me to go with Western Era. Ultra Image, just one of those horses I've been beat too many times by him, playing him when he doesn't get the job done for me. So I tried to beat him. And then I did also throw on number 4, BB Lucky Boy. Driver's change here to the Hall of Famer, David Miller. He's another one. He was pushing the speed, got to the lead at the half in 53 last time. Just got tired in the stretch, but certainly didn't throw in the towel by any means. Like I said, I like the pickup of Dave Miller, so I went 4-6 there in the 12.
Ray, I'm only called it Ray's Land. I don't think I want to visit Ray's Land, but I guess
I'd also pitched to CDI to rename the track, and then they said that would be like $1 million endeavor. So the best they would do is give me a bunker inside a mountain, and I took it. I took it. Here's what I'll say about Western Era. There are a few horses when you watch them race through a meet that you can watch, that they show you every single week something new and show you that they're learning and getting that much stronger. Western Era was certainly one of them, because at first during the Oak Grove meeting, he seemed kind of trip dependent. He was always coming from off the speed. He really couldn't get off the gate. And then all of a sudden the light bulb started clicking, and you see him uncork a race where, even though he lost on June 25th to his stablemate Wolf Tracks, I don't know how many people followed Oak Grove, going 25-2, 53-3, 121-1. Those are ridiculous fractions on any day at any track, let alone at Oak Grove. So that, on top of also, again, the company Western Era was keeping with some of the best horses on the ground there, this being a numbers of 6,000 event at Harrah's Hoosier Park, which would probably fall kind of like on the middle line of the class ladder, seems like it's a logical fit for a horse like him. And he's just showing the same kind of skills that he showed down on the smaller track, but now on the bigger track. I do wonder on the bigger track if he's going to need that kind of setup again, especially with a guy like Scott Zeron in the sulky. I'm sure he's going to take his time to figure out how to get into the race, and that could be a welcome match, especially if it turns into a match up front and they go 52 to the half. If they go 54, then the race might be over. But who knows? I do think you can spread a bit, though, in this race. I also throw on the 5 Ultra Image because of just the consistency of Tyler George and Trace Tetrick as a combo. This horse has back class racing in the open 3s, as well as the 4 BB Lucky Boy, who just got stung having to go super fast early on. Dave Miller can probably give a bit more of a methodical steer off of a trip like that, and that could probably be to this guy's benefit. And that 8-1 morning line, certainly nothing to slouch at either. I am interested, though, for pick 4 purposes, in a horse like the 2, Hello Sweetie Boy, who was also rolling into the race late. After that 53-3 front half, but 2 starts ago at 64-1, was able to sneak a 3rd place finish with a 26-4 final quarter behind an okay horse in Serious Mickey. That's another one that was down at Oak Grove at one point. But I also just see this horse climbing up the class ladder again. He was at the open 3 all the way back in early June, dipped down, got a win at the bottom level, and here he is coming into this company in decent form, just seeming like he's getting back onto the right track. And at 20-1 on the morning line, I don't know if that price is going to hold on the board like this, but certainly I wouldn't mind starting the pick 4 sequence with a horse like him.
Higher.
I'll take higher. If he's 50-1, I might single him. Who knows on a certain ticket.
Rod's just got that great cold look. We got the sunglasses. Either agree with every word you say, Ray, or he's going to destroy every word of it right now. One or the other.
No, I'm destroying everything Ray said about the 2. I will not be using the 2 in any superfecta, penifecta, quinfecta,
sextafecta, septafecta, octafecta.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not using him.
Stop inventing bets.
No, my play in this race is the 4 BB Lucky Boy. Last week, just brutalized to the half. Had the 2 move and was absolutely tired on the end of that mile and still finished. You know, he wasn't completely done, which I like. You know, he's game. Now he gets Dave Miller in the bike. He gets a very good post. He's going to be forwardly placed like he normally is. And this is a spot for Dave Miller to take advantage of this track. I think he's going to leave. He might let somebody go. In particular, I think maybe the 6 Western Era is going to fly out of there with Scott Zeron, and he might let him go. And that would be a perfect setup for me. Line up 6-4 all the way around the track. Pick 4 purposes, I'm going 4, 5, and 6. I think the middle of the gate is the place to be in this race. And those are really the 3 horses I think that stand out in this race. I don't see anybody else winning this race. Between those 3, one of them should win. If you think they're going to go fast early, your horse to bet is definitely the 5, but he's morning line favorite. And, you know, it's the leading duo, Tyler George and Trace Tetrick. It's always tough to beat them, but I'm going against them here. Taking my brother Ryan Bellamy with Dave Miller in the bike, 8-1 morning line. That's a bang bang play right there.
John?
I mean, obviously all the horses mentioned, they're logical players. I'm going to go way off the board here because typical Hoosier Park fashion, we got to expect some bombs to, play a role at some point throughout the night. So I actually like the way Granite and Montana Chief raced last time out. They were both interfered with the top of the lane. I believe the even money shot jumped it off at the head of the lane, and they kind of were in a bit of disarray. And I thought Granite, I mean, he was looking like he was going to finish up his mile real well, and they kind of had to angle out a bit late, avoiding some horses that got interfered with. And I thought he finished up the mile really well. Thought Montana Chief was in a perfect striking spot. And, just kind of tough because you got to stop and start your horse again. Ray always talks about momentum, and that's exactly what happened with Montana Chief. He just had to kind of hold him and avoid a horse that made a miscue right in front of him. And it looked like he was going to get a good piece of it. And all he was able to do was finish up and get a 4th place check. But I love the way the one Granite was moving at the end of the mile. I love Montana Chief as a long shot player. I like both of them. I think those are great pick 4 uses in a race that you guys keep talking about, that there could be some hot fractions up front. Well, these are horses that could be sitting close to that pace, and they could have the livest legs late. And, not to diminish or dismiss the efforts from Western Era, and Ultra Images are definitely capable, and BB Lucky Boy. But, I mean, at some point, a price has to come in on the night, and I think that these 2 rivals, I think they draw well enough where they can sit a stocking trip and go by at a big number.
John Rallis has certainly given his fair share of live long shots, so definitely pay attention to those if we're looking to start the pick 4 with a price. But we will turn our attention to race 13. Again, the main event, the $310,000 Dan Patch Stakes, free for all pace, an overflow field of 11. That puts 2 of them in the second tier. And Jacob, starting with you, your thoughts on the big race, and also, just because as an odds maker, I'm always curious, the morning line for the Dan Patch. The rest of the card, I assume, Trackmaster morning line. Who got the honor of making the Dan Patch morning line?
Rick Moore, our vice president and general manager of racing. He handles the morning line for some of our bigger races, so like this, the Pacing Derby later on. Rick Moore set that morning line price.
All righty. Well, Jacob, your thoughts on the race?
Yeah, I thought this was a tough race. I did kind of narrow it down to 4 that I thought really had a chance. And the one who drew well that I thought could utilize his racing style was number 6, Line Drive Hanover. The Canadian Invader here gets post 6. I expect him to kind of be the speed of the race. And like I said, it's all about the trip for me. I think he's going to go to the front end. The other horses I liked were the likes of a Buckabet Hanover, Charlie May, both on the rail. I worry about them getting off the rail at some point. A Buckabet Hanover, not a horse with a lot of early speed, and Charlie May stuck behind him and already with a horse to his outside. That concerned me a lot, even as good as he's been the last couple of starts. And then Little Rocket Man's the other horse I liked, and I worry about him getting to the pylons at some point from post 8. He's a horse that really doesn't have a lot of early speed. He likes to just float off the gate. So Line Drive Hanover's who I settled on here, just because I know he's got the gate speed to go to the front end. I don't see a ton of pace to his inside. I find it curious what the Ron Burke horses are going to do lined up right next to each other. I think they could make it interesting if they want to. But I think if Line Drive Hanover gets control of this race and has the jump on the other likely favorites in here, I think it's going to be tough to catch. He got 47 speed. He likes to roll right along on the front end. Line Drive Hanover is my selection. I did throw on a Buckabet and Charlie May for the pick 4, but Line Drive Hanover is pretty solidly my Dan Patch pick.
Emily?
Yeah, I think, from the top to bottom, you could, make a case for any number of these horses. And as far as, the way you want to approach the race, if you're going to try to beat a heavy favorite, which that's what I think is interesting, trying to predict who is going to be the post-time favorite. Obviously, Charlie May is going to get, a lot of love and deservedly so. But you do have a horse like Little Rocket Man who will take a lot of local love and then you've got Line Drive Hanover as well. So I think that's interesting as far as trying to approach the race. If, like I said, how you're going to play the race, you're going to try to beat the favorite, and which direction you're going to go. I personally like a Buckabet Hanover in this spot, in the way that he's coming into this race. We talk about Scott Zeron and things like that. He is an interesting horse to me, just as far as, a few of the spots that he's been in, the Houghton Memorial and things like that. He got roughed up pretty good there on 52 and 4, but I do like that they came back and qualified him. Concerning that he's had 4 starts over the Hoosier Park surface and yet to hit the board. And he finished 6th in this race last year, obviously for 6th place finish and then 4th in the pacing derby. But, as far as the trip is concerned, I think that, he can leave just enough to get a good spot. And then as we talk about, I think things could get a little crazy on the front. We've so oftentimes see things get crazy and see these horses get down to the half and 52 and 53. And it really sets it up for, kind of a deep closer, a horse to do some, pretty heavy lifting off the pace, which I think makes things interesting for a horse like Luz Pearlman too, with David Miller in the bike. Ron Burke, his horse is drawing right to the middle of the pack, which I think also makes things interesting. Really wanted to give some love to This Is the Plan. I love the horse. Obviously, nobody more successful over the track than Trace Tetrick. But, just obviously a lot of question marks as far as his recent form is concerned. So I went elsewhere. But I do also like Little Rocket Man. I don't think there's a horse in the field that, given the right trip, Little Rocket Man having his best day, I think, he could take on any number of these horses. He's got 40 wins over the track, 660,000. A lot of these horses are coming into Hoosier Park, many of them for the first time, and this could be one of those tough tracks to navigate. And for Little Rocket Man, this is just going to be another night at the office. So that, bodes nicely for him or plays heavily as far as my handicapping is concerned.
What price do you think Buckabet's going to be in the race?
That, and I think that's going to be really interesting too. I think he'll be somewhere in the lines of 6, 8, somewhere 6 to 1, 8 to 1. But I mean, I don't know. What do you think?
Oh, I think way lower. I mean, he was 3 to 5 in the Brower. He was 6 to 5 in the Houghton, and now you get Zeron, and I think that this morning line is way high for him. I mean, and people gravitate to high morning lines and say, well, that horse shouldn't be 8 to 1 morning line, and he's good. I think he's going to get crushed in the race. I think he's there's a lot of money that comes for him here. It's going to get spread, but the horses like Charlie May never take a ton of money. He's never going to be under 2 to 1 in this race. He's probably closer to 4, I would think, especially from that post. And Line Drive's going to take a little bit of money, but I think there's going to be a lot of a Buckabet money in this race.
I still think, Mike, and you and I debated this about my morning lines all the time. I think choice-wise, though, I think he's listed as the 5th choice here on the morning line. I think he takes more money than Luz Pearlman, but I think he's correctly listed as the 4th choice in the morning line. I think Charlie May takes more money. I think Low Rocket Man takes more money. I think Line Drive takes more money. I think that puts him at realistically the 4th choice in my opinion. But hey, speaking of Line Drive, 9-2. If anybody listened to the Mohawk Show with Ray and I, Ray teased he loved the horse at 9-2 on the morning line. There's only one here. So, Ray, maybe a price underneath from you, though, the $30,000 guaranteed superfecta?
So I, for one, do wonder how much of the 9-2 we'll actually get on Line Drive Hanover. I'm sure everyone who follows Mohawk, for one, remembers this horse from last year. And then for most of last year went, what happened to this horse? And then he just suddenly showed up at 5. And then many people were like me, and they lost a lot of money because they bet him first out, and he was massive. And legitimately, had he just been a bit closer to the pace, he probably could have won at first asking. This guy, with time off and with just the 5 stars under his belt, has blossomed into a particularly nice horse. Tried to cut it on the lead. I don't think the lead is really his game. So to me, if you give this horse a target, especially if you put him on a helmet, either in a pocket or second over, he can fire home. So to me, I feel like that might be the MO in a race like this. At that point, Emily was talking about some of the local connections. Time and time again in the Dan Patch, we see these local horses sneak in. I think Tell Me About It, if I remember correct. Didn't he sneak into the Dan Patch ticket one year? Or am I thinking of just another local horse that Mike Oosting happened to drive?
No, that was the and Jacob, keep me honest, that was the Pacing Derby. I believe he finished 2nd. The Pacing Derby, seriously long odds.
It
was like
actually
90-1, if I remember.
21
right.
Dan Patch. He finished
21
second to
Dan
catch
Patch,
the
that's
fire,
right.
just about 2 steps away from getting the job done at about 65-1. Yeah,
that's right. That's right.
Yeah, no, he's one of those horses that never gets bet in this race, and yet he still keeps showing up. So to me, that kind of consistency along with that home field advantage, certainly if you're getting 30-40-1 on him again, absolutely throw him onto the superfecta. In all honesty, how I would probably approach it then is I would probably wheel the superfecta, keeping Line Drive on top, and then just wheel Tell Me About It for the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th spots, and then spread for the other ones. For one, to minimize my overall ticket cost, but also give me a chance to at least get a little bit of juice out of it, especially if I can get that 40-1 shot on the ticket.
So you don't think that Line Drive goes forward here? You don't think that? You think he's coming from off of it?
I think if he goes forward, it's to try and get a helmet.
Mm-hmm.
But who goes forward then? Besides, maybe this is the plan inside him.
Certainly from post 9, Which Way to the Beach has speed, and if Pete Wren really wants to fire with that guy, it's kind of like a what else do you do? This is a $300,000 race with that post. It's like a what else are you gonna kind of do kind of situation. This is the plan, can certainly fire off the wings. I know he hasn't as of late, but the 8-year-old guy could probably still go like a 26 Torture if need be. Luz Pearlman certainly can do. Southwind Gentry can as well. Little Rocket Man, if that's what he wants to choose to James has the option. Is ultimately
right now.
Ultimately, the point is James has the option, and I think that even though he's better off a helmet, if he got to the lead and he held the lead, that's worst case scenario, but he could still do it. I think he's that kind of horse. He's going to be a really nice free-for-all pacer.
But he's going to be underlated here.
I think if you get 2-1 on him, that's a pretty good price.
No, terrible.
John knows his betting.
Mike, we can always count at least sentimentally. We know what your pick is in this race. Are we going with it on top?
Absolutely. Are you kidding me? How are you going to get off this horse now? I mean, he's as good as he's been all year. Of course, you're taking Charlie May in the race. I mean, his last 2 are fantastic. He's actually, I think he's very live in here from this post. He's going to get a very similar trip. He can, be anywhere, and he can be very good chasing. He's good up close. He's as good as can be right now. Now, his price is probably around 3-4-1 in the race. That's fine. I mean, I'm okay. I mean, I've made enough money on him in the past couple of races. It doesn't really matter to me. He's as sharp as it gets, and
sentimental bet.
Tough. Oh yeah, but
sentimental bet.
He's good. He's good. I mean, he's going to be good.
Well, he gave us him at 31-1 in the Houghton, so we can't ignore it. John, how about for you?
Yeah, I think I honestly agree with Ray in terms of he needs a helmet. I think line drive Hanover. I think that if you even speak to James McDonald, I think he'll be the first guy to tell you that this guy just swells up when he's chasing somebody and sitting on a helmet. But I do agree with Jacob. I do think he's going to look to leave. I'm just hoping that somebody removes. I don't think James is going to get conservative in this race, but I like him to win this race. I honestly think he's my selection, and I think he's got a great shot. But again, I think he needs a helmet. I'm hoping that one of these Burke horses gets aggressive and maybe leaves early in this mile. That's what I'm hoping for. And if not, I still think that line drive Hanover is capable of cutting this mile out. I think that he's a really good horse. I think that James is making the trip down to Hoosier Park for a reason. I think that he truly believes he can win this race, and it is a wide open race. And I wanted to like a buck bet Hanover more. I really thought that he was going to take over as in the older pacing division, especially with Bulldog Hanover out. He looked like the now horse at the time, and that last start was really concerning. Like, it looked like he just broke down a bit. I wasn't even sure if we were going to see him as soon as the Dan Patch, to be honest with you. It's nice to see him that he was able to put forth a solid qualifier, but I'd like to see a race out of him first, because I know it was a big mile, but coming home in 33 seconds, I mean, he barely made it over the finish line. That's the only concern with me. But from a talent standpoint, I think if you get a good price on him, I think he's worth the risk, and hoping that he can bounce back to form and what he showed in the starts prior, because he's been a new horse in Andrew Harris's barn. So I'm going to go with line drive Hanover, and I think if the price is right on a bucket bet, I think that you should just take a shot and hope that he's back to the form that he showed his first few starts.
Rod?
I mean, I don't really have anything additional to add here. A buck about Hanover. If he's back to his old self, he's definitely the play here. The morning line suggests that he's not really going to take a ton of play in this race, but, he's got an inside post. If he's back to normal, he's definitely going to be one of the horses in the mix. And, Scotty Z took him to drive over Captain Kirk. I really like his chances if he's back to his old self. Now, that's a big if. Line drive Hanover, everybody else already touched on him. He's obvious, and Charlie May is very obvious too. He's going to be following a buck about Hanover the entire way, and we all know when Charlie May is sitting on a helmet, he can absolutely fly once he pops off that helmet. So, there's not a whole lot for me to say here outside of anything else that anybody else has already said. 1, 6, and 10. I don't see anything else.
Well, that was a good discussion on the 2023 Dan Patch Stakes. Again, race 13 on Friday evening at Hoosier Park. And we'll go through races 14 and 15 quickly here and give out some pick 4 tickets to wrap up the show. And, Rod, you close us out on Dan Patch. We'll let you kick off race 14. This non-winners of 4 or 50,000 lifetime on the pace. Nice purse of 22,500 on the line. The field of 10. How are you continuing your leg 3, pick 4?
So to start this out, I'm one of those guys that loves these mid to lower level classes. This non-winners of 4. I absolutely love this. The one JB Graham, inside post, Trace Tetrick, second time Lasix. That's a huge key for me. These Irv Miller horses, sometimes they tend to make breaks, and this horse made a break last time, but is definitely fast enough. And this looks like a spot from an inside post, can just kind of float out of there and get away halfway close. I think Trace is just going to pull out maybe first or second over, sit there, wait till the stretch, and just let this horse float and see if he can outclose him. He looks the best to me, but in case he does run, I'm going to use a couple other ones. The 4, Henry the horse, coming off a win, 2 of the last 3. Super, super fast horse. Really nice 3-year-old. Kyle Wolfong stays again for Jay Hochstetler. There's not a whole lot to say. 3 wins and 6 starts this year. This horse is really in top form right now. It's hard to go against him. And then the 10, MM's Tony, who starts from the second tier, but starts behind a good horse as long as he stays flat. He seems to be one that needs a trip in the first half of the race, but if he can get that trip, he can absolutely rock it home. And he's his 3rd start off of a qualifier after a break in stride, I think as long as he is in form enough to stay flat. He's going to be very tough, and he's going to be a decent price. And I think he's one. If he trips out, he's going to be very, very nice in this pick 4 sequence. 1-6-10.
John, I sold a short in the intro there. How about an 11 horse field? Another horse race with 2 second-tier starters. Race 14, your thoughts?
Sorry, 1-4-10. I said 1-6-10. I meant 1-4-10.
He meant 1-4-10. Write
John?
it down.
Yes.
Hey, John or Jacob?
John.
Okay, sorry. All right. I find this to be a pretty wide open race. I thought JB Graham recovered really nicely off of the break. I really don't have a strong feel for this race, but with the rail position, like the way he's finishing up his miles, I feel like he's the horse to beat. I mean, I tried to go get creative in this race, but Henry the horse I thought was kind of that horse could bounce back with another good effort. He had a reason to get leg weary late in the mile. I mean, he was cutting the mile pretty well, so he's definitely a horse that I would use on my ticket. And I think that's about it. I thought Mr. Matt's race 2 starts back was really strong, but he's a horse who doesn't really have gate speed. I thought the mile was that doesn't seem like he can take too much air, especially going back quickly last time out. Thought all he did was stay on the rail, and he almost lucked out. It was a great effort, but where's he going to get away off the gate? That's the only concern. And I just think that a lot of these guys are going to be hindered by post position. So I'm just going to go 1-4 here.
Mike?
I like some other ones. I don't mind the 2-6 again. I mean, had the 10 hole last time, second tier there, and was just okay. Finished up to pass a couple horses there. Now second Lasix, you get an inside draw. You're probably going to get a decent price on that one. I think the 7's interesting. Shady Lane Luck. This is Ross Leonard. You get Brett Miller now. I think this is a different spot for this horse, and only 1 win, but won a lot of races last year. You got 10-1 morning line, a wide open race. I think this is a spread race in the pick 4. I agree with Rod on the 4 and the 10. I think those horses need to be used also. So I was 2, 4, 7, and 10.
I know we're in trouble when I give Ray even more to talk about than just race 14, but Ray, do you care to respond to Derek Givener's not sure how Ray thinks James isn't leaving with line drive comment?
Because
that's what I said.
Because my ultimate point is that James doesn't want to be on the lead. James can be on the lead, but James doesn't want to be on the lead. It's like when you wake up in the morning and go, I shouldn't have a Pop-Tart, but I'm going to have a Pop-Tart. Sometimes that's just how it happens, because you look in the fridge and go, there's nothing else ready. There's no other horse coming to the lead, so it's just like, guess I'm having a Pop-Tart for breakfast. And that was my morning.
What about those of us that just make breakfast?
Sometimes you just don't have the energy to make breakfast, because you
go to Dunkin'.
No, because then someone else makes your breakfast, and that takes more time.
Is there a horse in our future?
Mike, do you see what happens? I talked Ray into a simple question, and we're talking about breakfast. Ray, race 14.
Every great day starts with, every great person starts with breakfast. I want that to be on the record.
What flavor of Pop-Tart, though? Now you
okay, so
Pop-Tarts.
I thought I still had the wrapper on my desk because I'm that kind of person. It was a s'mores this morning.
Interesting.
But on like a day where I want to feel like a good little worker boy, it's brown sugar cinnamon.
Now we're talking.
Today was a little bit of a treat. And also, I looked in the cupboard and I saw a box that might have been in there for a couple of months. So I wanted to see if the aging experience added any flavor. The same way it does for the
a dry aged Pop-Tart, Mike. Now you're speaking my language.
Oh, it was anything but dry. It held its moisture. The science involved at the Kellogg's factory is
you gotta love preservatives.
I think I just watched a Netflix documentary about that.
I think that documentary was called Die and Eat.
Yeah.
I do both of those at some point in my life. If you want a horse from me, everything comes back to Oak Grove. I want people to understand this. All right. This meet has been so impactful across the country, and for the same reason why I think this horse that is going to be a long shot has a live chance. Shady Lane Luck, no Oak Grove lines, but the horse that he lost to 2 starts ago, an incredible 3-year-old from Team Putnam in a cool moment. He almost won the 3-year-old Kentucky Sire Stake. Just got outfooted by Brett Pelling's Command, who I believe set the gelding track record that day in that Kentucky Sire Stakes final for 3-year-olds. Also looking up and down the page, Shady Lane Luck, the lone 4-year-old, against 3-year-olds. I know it's August, but sometimes that development edge, that experience edge, that can go a bit of an extra distance. Picks up Brett Miller. That might hurt the price a little bit. But also, this guy shows speed going off the wings. Aside from losing to a Cool Moment 2 starts ago with that 26-3 final quarter, where I can see he lost to a better horse. Last out was in against Major Crocker. I understand he's 13 years old, but gosh damn it, that guy can still go 149-3. And I think that 30 claiming class is a lot tougher than this non-winners of 4 bunches here, because I had the same issue as John looking up and down the page. A lot of these horses really don't go off the wings. And if they do, they don't really finish strongly. You know, Clear Choice to V, another one from my stomping grounds, incredible on the smaller track. I imagine he gets scared in that long straightaway because he's one that would always just get to the finish at the right time. You add extra length in that stretch. That's a bit of a harder task for that, albeit nice horse that David Brooks has. Always Andrew stretching out from Northfield and Scioto. I don't know if he's going to take a handling to the bigger track. Henry the horse, I think, has just gotten incredible drives every time that he's won. And I don't know what he's going to do if he doesn't get a perfect trip in that way. 6 again, he can finish well, but if they go a bit fast, he usually doesn't have as much in reserve. The only other horse I could throw on is JB Graham as an entire compromise. Because of the connections, because of the second-time Lasix, presuming he can improve and sit closer if he doesn't break in stride. But I could realistically single the 7 in this race because I don't see how any other horse wins.
All right, well, we're on breakfast talk. My breakfast is everybody cares. By the way, different background news for me. Ocean City, Maryland, nice vacation this week. On my vacation, get up at 7 a.m., went to play golf this morning, shot a nice 39 on my 9 holes, which is definitely not Jacob Rheinheimer territory, but I'm proud of it. Got my nice donut and iced latte, and I was good for the morning.
You should be at Fractured Prune. That's the best donuts in Ocean City.
That's tomorrow's plan. Jacob, race 14.
Fractured Prune?
Yeah, I couldn't go too far off the books here. I wanted to beat JB Graham. He was actually looked like the nicest 2-year-old we had in the state for a period of time last year, on his way to making almost $100,000. And then just as the season went on, just seemed to kind of deteriorate his form-wise a little bit. And then I just haven't liked what I've seen at age 3 yet. I think he's going to go off the favorite from the rail. Second-time Lasix with Trace Dietrich and Irv Miller. So I'm going to try to beat him. We've all mentioned Henry the horse, just as consistent as they come. Fits this class nicely. A horse that has to be around the lead at the top of the stretch to get the job done. Not really flashy speed, just kind of a grinded-out type horse. Then I did throw on Clear Choice to V. Joy Putnam in the bikes for David Brooks at a price. I was really impressed with those first couple of starts he made here at Hoosier Park coming in from Oak Grove. Finished second in this non-winners of 4 classes first start at Hoosier Park, going in 151. Backed it up with a third-place effort after cutting the mile early. Then he raced in that non-winners of 6,000 series last week, and he was a victim of the breaking horse at the top of the stretch. Took him completely out of the race. I think he's worth a look at a big price here. And then I also did throw on Shady Lane Luck at that 10-1 price. 2 back raced in non-winners of 4, finished a good second, pacing 50 and change. He's been really good ever since the barn changed to the Ross Leonard barn. And like you said, dropping from that $30,000 claimer, I thought he was well worth a look back in against younger horses here. I don't think you're going to get that 10-1 price, but I do like him on my ticket, so I went 4-6-7 here in the 14th.
Emily?
Yeah, a little different for me. I think, like Jacob said, JB Graham, is safe to say that he's been a disappointment this year, but I absolutely think he is the horse to beat. Second start of Lasix. Trace Dietrich, I think just got a little aggressive last week, and so they'll have to adjust their strategy there as far as that's concerned. So I absolutely think he is the horse to beat. A horse that I'm going to use for a long shot is the 2-6 again. You guys talked about him a little bit earlier, but last week just a very nonchalant drive as far as I'm concerned, and then makes his second start of Lasix tonight, and he draws to the inside, and he talked about a horse that needs some front end speed, and we saw this horse on the front 51 26-3 back in May, and then you can kind of follow the path. He raced good, and then obviously there were some issues there, bleeding, Lasix, what have you. So they added Lasix last week. Looked like it certainly helped, but just like I said, was not an aggressive drive. So tomorrow he'll get DeLong. He gets the inside post, the second start of Lasix. So I really like 6 again in this spot. And like I said, for a price on the pick 4 ticket, I think he's certainly worth a shot. And I agree with everything that everyone else has said as far as Henry the Horse, and a few of these others. But there is one in here that nobody's mentioned that I just feel obligated to mention. That's the 3, Always Floating. Scott Zeron, similar story, third start of LASIK. So this school was racing it against Stakes Company, the likes of Buzzsaw Russ, who's going to the Milstein, Coach Stefanos. And so they keep putting him in against the Sire Stakes. And, I'm not going to say he doesn't belong there, but, he's been in some tough company. So he makes a significant class drop here tonight. And last week it looked like that was another just conservative drive. Hey, second start of LASIKs. Not sure what to make of him. So tonight, tomorrow night rather, third start of LASIKs, Scott Zeron. If you're really looking to swing for the fences, I wouldn't be scared of him.
Race 15 will close us out. The Marion Savage horses that have started for base claiming price of $8,000 or less. Another one where we saw some of those kind of preliminary legs last week leading up to the start. And we will just go right on in the interest of time to the pick 4 tickets as well. So Mike, talk a little bit about race 15, and then doing so, give us your pick 4 tickets. And producer AJ, we can go right to the pick 4 graphic.
Yeah,
over race pace, which is good. That's good. We can leave that one.
I'd like to in this last race. The 6, Karen Joseph, I think looks obvious. Brutal trip from the 12 hole, parked a long way, ended up getting beat less than a length. That's an obvious, line that a lot of people are going to pick up on. I think that horse needs use. I'm going to use a former horse that used to race up at Mohawk, though, and that's Jim Strike It Rich. And this horse has a lot of quirks. There's no question about it. But when he's good, he can be very good, especially from off the pace. And signaled a little bit of a wake-up last time. Kicked 26-3, and usually this horse lives on the outside a long time and just can keep coming down the middle. And 15 wins the last 2 years. You get Scott Zeron. I think that this horse is going to be a price in here again. And he may or may not be anything in this race, but I want him on the ticket, I think, to finish up at that 10-1 morning line. It's interesting here, the 10 and the 11, they won the prior, basically, Allums for this race, and they're in the 10 and 11. Oh, this is a wide open race. I'll finish up with the 6 and 9. As far as my ticket goes, my ticket's 48 for $1. I would use the 4, 6, and 10 in that first race. We'll just go the 6 and 10 and leg number 2. Spread in that third leg, 2, 4, 7, 10, and then 6 and 9 to finish 48 for $1.
Rod, quick race 15 thoughts, pick 4 ticket.
Actually, I'm pretty much on the same page as Mike here in this last race. The 6, Karen Joseph, big mile last time. Just needs a little bit of a trip here and should be right there at the wire again. Also using the 8, KJ Owen, outside post, but his third start back, I think fits very well here. Is going to need another decent trip, is going to have to get brought up into the mix. And then the 9, Jim Strikes It Rich. You get the driver change to Scotty Z. That's enough for me to use. I'm going 6, 8, and 9 here. So my pick 4 ticket is 4, 5, 6 with 1, 6, 10 with 1, 4, 10 with 6, 8, 9. It's $40.50.
Okay, we got Jacob back. Jacob, race 15 quick thoughts and your late pick 4 ticket.
Yeah, went too deep in this last leg. Number 6, Karen Joseph. Another one of those Ryan Bellamy horses. Had a brutal trip from post 12 last time. Still finished second. Gets much better post here and retains Mike Osteen. Then I also threw on number 9, Jim Strikes Rich. Got Zeron. Driver's change here. After Jacob Fox, the trainer, drove him last week to a nice third place effort. Picks up Scott Zeron. 9 holes of concern, but obviously the outside post, no concern for Scott Zeron. So I go too deep here in this last leg. $18 ticket for me. I've got it 4, 6 with 1, 6, 10 with 4, 6, 7 with 6, 9.
John?
Yeah, this 15th race I find to be pretty wide open. I could see a number of horses winning. I think Jim Strikes It Rich, I thought it was a good effort last time. You get an upgrade in the bike, and I don't even know if it matters where he gets away, because I do think that there's going to be – I think he likes the big stretch. I mean, we've seen this horse at Mohawk. Mike and I have watched this guy many, many starts. I'm intrigued by the horses starting from the second tier. I typically don't like to back horses who do start from the second tier, but find it interesting that Brandon Bates elected to go with the 11 over the 7 in this race. And I thought Rockandale put forth a solid effort last time out, so maybe they can get cozy spots despite drawing the second tier. So I'll probably spread him this race because I don't really have a strong opinion. Karen Joseph now draws his nose on the gate too. He should be situated early, and he should probably get the best trip, but just obviously 0 for 6 is a bit of a concern. He's had a couple cozy trips at times too and couldn't get the job done. So Race 12, I am going to go 1, 3, 4 to start it out. I'm going to pitch the chalk and just hope that I can get rewarded there. Race 13, I'm going to single line drive Hanover. I think he's the one to beat in there, and I think he's going to get a good trip. Again, I think he's going to leave. I think that the hope is that somebody can cover him up and that he is covered up, but he's definitely going to leave for a race for $300,000. Whether that's his preferred trip or not, he definitely will be pointed forward. In race 14, I'll use JB Graham. I'll use Henry the horse, and I will use Shady Lane Luck. Ray talked me into him, so it'll be an addition for me. And then race 15, I will use 6, 8, 9, 10, 11. Don't know how much that costs for a buck. Can't do the quick math.
That sounded like $10,000 to me. I lost count.
Emily?
Yeah, quickly talking about the 15th race. I actually like the one, can't help but win, Jason Brewer. The guy's batting at 250, but he's high percentage first start off the claims. This horse making his second start. I thought he made a good showing of himself last week off the rail, so I do like him. And like everybody said, Karen Joseph, and I do like KJ Owen, who's just missed at this level last two. Again, high percentage connections there, so I particularly like him in that spot. As far as my pick 4 ticket is concerned, I am going to go a 4, 5, 6 with the 1, 6, 10, with the 1, 2, with the 1, 6, and 8.
And last, and well, honestly, this group probably least, Ray.
I know nothing about this last race. This is one of those.
That's why least, Ray. See, I said it's
There's not an Oak Grove horse you can pick.
Well, no, but here's my point. My point is that this race has such a stark divide between the contenders and the no chancers that in spreading on the logicals, it feels like a terrible. It kills the equity of my ticket. But I can't separate the 1, 6, 8, or 11. This is a race that seems like it's going to be up to just who gets into the right spot and who shows up that day. The one, as Emily mentioned, Jason Brewer. Anytime you're talking about low-level claimers and you see Jason Brewer has a horse, you probably have to pay attention. Karen Joseph's coming in off some sharp miles. Doesn't have to start. You guys go to the 12 now in the second tier? That's wild. You guys are doing some wild stuff out there in Indiana. I like it. Karen Joseph doesn't have to do that, though, now. So that probably better puts him into the race. KJ Owen can fire home, but sometimes is too far back. And if he's too far back and then he doesn't win, and the 11 honestly is the best kick in the race, might potentially be trailing some okay speed if Major Crisis decides to push off the wings and try his luck to gobble whatever he can sitting close. And that would be to the benefit of Brandon Bates on this guy who is showing sharp late quarters. It's Springfield, which tends to be a fast track, but also still was able to come home in 26 and change, 27 and change. There aren't many horses in this race that go forward going 26 and change, 27 and change. So I unfortunately have to go 4 deep on the logicals. Thankfully, my ticket isn't that expensive. It's $16. I'm 2, 4, 5, 6 in the first leg. We got a juicy 20-1, potentially 100-1 shot based on how everyone responded to him in this table. Line drive Hanover, stone cold single in the Dan Patch. I'm sorry that in this feature race for all of you, it's that obvious. Maybe it won't be. Who knows?
Don't listen to him.
Charlie May.
Third leg, I'm 1-7. Might even single the 7 if I'm feeling brazen, because in all honesty, the 1 feels like a compromise. And then in the last leg, I'm 1, 6, 8, 11. That's $16. And if line drive somehow loses, well, thankfully, there's a trick where if you know the manager of a local restaurant, you can just head there after hours and they'll feed you that day. But they won't. They can't tell anyone. You can't wait out at the dumpster because they have to lock it by law. That's your fact of the night.
Alrighty, well, in the interest of hosting this with 7 people, first time 7-person roundtable, I didn't get a chance to deeply discuss my thoughts, so I'll share what I said with Pete Fornatow earlier today, and that is to say if you want to single in that late pick 4, I would actually single in that 15th race, Karen Joseph A. And the 13th race, just discuss the Dan Patch quickly. Line drive Hanover on top for me. Buckabat Hanover, this is the plan. They're the 2 prices I would use underneath if you're trying to play. That's a guaranteed superfecta pool. But as always, happy to have this great group of panelists with me. Emily Gaskin, we're going to start with you to wrap up. So final thoughts, and most importantly, give us a little bit of an outline here for Hoosier Park. We were happy to have Jacob on our show to discuss opening weekend. Now we're at Dan Patch Stakes. We'll be back partnering with Hoosier Park again here at In the Money Media when it comes to Caesars Trotting Classic Night. And you guys keep on racing here through the fall.
Yeah, again, just want to reiterate that we so enjoy our partnership within the money. Of course, I want to invite everybody out. If any of you guys make it to Hoosier Park, make sure that you let us know. We'll take care of you guys. Love what you guys do. We'll watch it all the time. So we truly appreciate it. And like I said, hopefully you guys can make it out at some point throughout the season. Obviously we got the Breeders' Crown and lots of great races coming up. So again, just want to thank you guys for the partnership, and of course send an open invitation to anyone that comes to Hoosier Park. But no, we're really excited. We've got a lot going on, like you said. As far as the guaranteed wagers are concerned, we will be broadcasting on Fox Sports from 8 to 11 as well. So if anybody wants to catch us on there, you certainly can. We've got all sorts of stuff going on track. So if you know anybody local or anybody wants to make the trip, I hate to say knock on wood. It's like one of my least favorite phrases, but knock on wood. It looks like the weather's going to be great, and highly anticipating a fast track. So looking forward to, some interesting miles I don't want to say for whatever reason, but, Dan Patch Night, there's a lot of hype, and it just never fails that there's like some crazy storyline, whether it's like a 100-to-1 shot or, the Greg Hassan, track record or something like that. So, crazy stuff happens on Dan Patch Night. It's always entertaining. We're very much looking forward to it. So again, just want to thank you guys for all that you do, and of course, including us in your work. So,
yeah, we're very happy to have you. Hopefully, we'll get you guys back Caesars Trotting Class Night and the Breeders' Crown. I forgot that we got some Breeders' Crown partnership coming up, and Mike,
yep,
that's great to get the national TV exposure. Fox Sports 2 tomorrow night. The 5-star general ascended in Army. We get Gabe Pruitt and Emily Gaskin. If we're not on track, we can watch them on Fox Sports.
Love it.
Yep,
love it. And I'll be there for Breeders' Crown for sure. I can't wait for that. I love Hoosier. I think it's a great place to go. It's one of the best tracks to go watch a race at, especially down just the way it's set up. It's just and great racing, big fields. I think we're gonna have big pools on Friday night. So get in. I mean, these are good races, and everybody root for Charlie May.
Rod, we thank you for joining us. Your audition for Ray Cotolo spot is very successful. I think we're going to use you going forward and just kind of kick Ray out of here.
Yeah, I'm glad I could take Ray's spot up top there. Looking at the screen, I see I'm number 2, which, outside of the host, that means number 1. So, I'm pretty excited about that on my return. And, I'm glad to bump Ray down to number 6.
Yeah, Ray, think about the times you sat in my spot before. You've been the host. Now you're demoted to 6, and next time you're not even going to be on this panel.
Well, no, Rod won't be able to handle it because now he's got to be flamboyant and gesticulative, and that just means I get to be Rod. So it's great to
Remember
be
the
able
time
to
you
be
fell
here.
asleep?
And no one does it better than me.
I agree.
Bang, bang.
No, you did it wrong. Bang, bang.
Bang, bang.
You me out.
Oh, my God.
John Rallis,
bang, bang.
we enjoy watching your work up there at Woodbine Mohawk Park, and I guess you got an evening off too. We're happy to have you join us on a Thursday evening. Lots of racing up there, and obviously we'll see you in the desk plenty more, and on TVG as well when you guys, FanDuel TV, when you guys check in with Peter Lorre.
Oh, yeah, I forgot that you got tuned into the TVG. That's always fun tuning in with Peter and a bunch of the guys. Peter's always great because I enjoy the
John, when you talk to Peter next time, make sure you tell him I said hello because I used to work with him all the time. I haven't seen him as much recently. Still keep in touch with him every once in a while. But next time you talk to him, make sure you tell him I said hi.
100%. I will. Hopefully he's there on Monday when I'm there. Yeah, he's always fun he's always in tune with all the harness broadcasts. Like he just loves it.
Yeah.
So, he's great to banter with back and forth.
I'm sorry, I just keep laughing, staring at whatever Ray is trying to do right now. We've unfortunately lost Jacob Rheinheimer once again, but as always, we thank you for joining us. We thank my entire group of panelists, even Ray, for joining us on this lovely Thursday evening. Thank you for tuning in live. Kevin Plauchen wants to know, Kevin, I'm sorry, I'm not reading your last comment. We're not hearing more from Ray tonight. So tomorrow night, And there's a huge 15 race Friday evening card out there in Indiana, Hoosier Park, the massive Dan Patch Stakes nights. Again, very happy we're in the Money Media relationship here with Hoosier Park and Caesars Entertainment. Looking forward to continuing on with them as we progress through the races. And again, if you're looking, hey, there's Jacob one last time. We can get him in real quick. Jacob,
Yes.
thank you for joining us as always. And as Emily laid out for us, a lot of great racing left out there for you guys the rest of the season.
Yeah, this is kind of a great card, kicking off a great series. You know, we picked up the Peter Houghton and Jim Daugherty, carrying that right into Hoosier Champion, Caesar's Trot, and the Breeders' Crown. So looking forward to it. We're going to see all the best horses here at Hoosier Park this fall. Really just can't wait for it. It's a real treat for us here at Hoosier Park. We don't get them all too often, but certainly having the Breeders' Crown here and picking up some extra Grand Circuit races. Really looking forward to this fall, and it's going to be the place to be this fall in harness racing.
Mike, how long can race day like this? Can we just keep going? Just to watch
Oh, I don't know. This could go a long time. I mean, this is like the old Nahu days now because Rod's here and everybody's here, and this is just the way it is.
Oh, dear. Oh, there's a lot of content this week. I did the triple header. Yes, you applaud for Edison doing the triple header today. You can catch Mike Pribozie, Thomas Svensson, and I. We talk Sweden. We talk the Alby Stora Prix this coming Saturday over there in Sweden. We'll be back next week. Jubileumsbokalen and Sovalla on Wednesday. Ray Cotolo and I discussed Woodbine Mohawk Park racing for this Saturday. John, apparently Ray signed you up to chat with him next week on that Mohawk show when I'm not around the town. Of course, there's this roundtable to give you a lot of insight for Dan Patch Night. And next week, we will be back for our partnership with the USTA. We'll be talking Sun Stakes Saturday at Pocono Downs. So looking forward to a lot of great content coming up. But as always, thank all of you for joining us for this roundtable. We thank In the Money Media. We thank producer AJ for his sports night. And again, all of my cast of characters here, even Ray for participating with this roundtable. Wish you the best of luck. Wish you the best of luck in your wagering endeavors this Friday at Hoosier Park. Hope all your bets are winning ones, and we'll talk to you next time.
Bang, bang!